Hello and welcome, TBU fans. I'm your host, King L5, and today I am bringing you my Week 4 TBU match against K to the 2, coach of the Harlem Gloomtrotters, and he's currently number 1 in the entire league, 3-0 with a really good differential. So hopefully we can take him down in this game. We do have a pretty solid matchup in my opinion, especially as you can see, especially if you watch my team builder, you'll know that I was really scared of Reuniclus and he didn't actually bring it. I guess he decided Starmie was better psychic type versus me, and he didn't want the double psychic core to be even weaker to Gengar and Sneasel, which I do understand. But yeah, he did bring the Venomoth, Starmie, Jadehex, Breloom, Crobat, and Ferrothorn. So seeing the Crobat, I'm thinking that the Starmie is probably not Rapid Spin, and probably most likely an offensive set with lots of coverage to hit my entire team, as it is one of his bigger offensive threats to me. And then the Breloom, probably going to be just Adamant Life Orb if I had to guess anything, and the Crobat as bulky Defog. Ferrothorn, going to be just annoying in general, probably going to be able to switch into my Gengar at least a few times. So yeah, but other than that, he doesn't have a Gengar switch-in, so definitely excited about that. And if you look at his team, he has no Flying Resist, which is even better for my Dragon Dance Salamence. And if you look at his team, you really think that the Starmie is going to be Choice Scarf, so he can have something to check a +1 Mence. That's what I'm thinking going into this game. But yeah, so if you didn't watch my team builder, I'll go over my team super fast. I have Scarf Gengar, Life Orb Sneasel, and bulky offensive Heatran with Dark Pulse and Stealth Rocks, and Lava Plume and Earth Power. I have physically defensive Rotom Mow with a Rocky Helmet. I have kind of fast Finny, speed creeping and Adamant Breloom with a lot of defense, and I have Dragon Dance, Max Speed, Max Attack, Salamence. So let's get right into this game. So looking at the lead matchup, I'm actually going to decide to lead off with Gengar, because if he doesn't lead with Ferrothorn, then I can basically start weakening the Ferrothorn so that I get to a point where Gengar has no switch-ins. And also if I force in the Ferrothorn, I can basically get up free rocks with my Heatran, and then he's forced to defog with the Crobat so his Zard doesn't come in at half. But yeah, just generally pretty solid for me. I'm going to choose to lead off with the Gengar, and let's see what he decides to lead off with as this animation plays out. Pretty spooky. Yeah. So he's going to send out his Placebo, which is the Venomoth. Now, I'm just going to go for the Shadow Ball first turn because it's my hardest move to hit it. And I don't want this thing setting up for free, expecting it to be a Focus Sash variant. I just go straight for the Shadow Ball, and it does a lot of damage. As you can see, it does about 60%, but I do get the special defense drop, which is super unfortunate for him. He probably would have been able to live the next one. I don't know how much HP he was running on his thing, but it's probably a considerable amount. And yeah, he is Black Sludge, so he definitely would have been out of range of the next Shadow Ball. But since I did get this lucky special defense drop, I am able to 2-hit KO this thing, and since I am Scarf, he's not able to get the Baton Pass out or even hit me with anything. So that's going to be his Venomoth down on turn 2. Very unfortunate for him, very lucky for me. And yeah, he brings in his Ferrothorn, and now I can switch out straight into my Heatran, and he can't really touch me with anything. Worst case scenario, he goes for the Gyro Ball to break my balloon, but he just goes for the Stealth Rocks. Now here, I'm thinking it's not the best play to stay in. His obvious switch here is to go Starmie, so that if I do set up rocks, he can potentially spin if he is that set. I don't know if he would be that set, I'm pretty sure he isn't, but if it is, that's his play right here, so I'm going to just assume that he's not going to stay in on the Heatran with the Ferrothorn, and I'm going to go for the Dark Pulse, predicting the switch out into the Starmie. As he does switch out, and he goes out into his Mega Charizard X, trying to get it in before rocks, which is understandable. Now, Dark Pulse does a considerable amount of damage, but that shows that he is a super bulky Charizard X. Now I know he's forced to Mega Evolve first turn because that's Draft League rules, so I'm going to go straight for the Earth Power. Nice animation there. As he goes for the Dragon Claw to break my balloon, I'm assuming he has Earthquake, otherwise why would you make that play? And I'm going to go for the Earth Power and unfortunately for him, I do get a crit, as you can see. So according to what he told me after the game, that crit definitely mattered because he was max HP with like 180 SPDF, which I was not expecting at all. But Earth Power did pick up the knockout. If I did not get that crit, he would have been alive next turn, but he would have been at about 10%, 5% depending on the roll. And at that point, Earthquake is his only real play, and I can switch hard out into my Salamence, and then I basically get a kill because he cannot afford to let me set up to +1 unless he Scarf Star me. And so I would just be able to go for the Earthquake on that thing, and if he switches into Ferrothorn, I basically set up a Dragon Dance on that thing and I just win the game right there. So he doesn't really have a counterplay to that. So he would have lost his Charizard X either way there, assuming I made the correct play and he didn't make a godly prediction there. But yeah, it is very unfortunate for him regardless. As he goes out into his Breloom here, now I'm just going to go out into my counter, which is the Rotom. Unfortunately my nickname got cut off, so I'm going to have to think of a better nickname for the next time I bring it. But he does reveal the Substitute, which is kind of scary. But I do have the Foul Play, and if he is Adamant Max Attack, I do have, I think it might be a roll, but I think I have a pretty good shot at breaking his sub. And he goes for the Mach Punch, which is apparently his hardest move to hit me. Or he's just predicting me to be Choice Scarf and just wants damage on this thing. But I am able to get the helmet damage as he reveals he's not Life Orb, so the damage output on this thing is going to be significantly decreased, which also leads me to believe this might be a Z move user, although I'm not sure about that. But anyways, I do break the sub, and now I think I'm just going to go for the Volt Switch, as he's kind of forced to switch out because I do wall him. Now he goes out into Nigel, which is his Ferrothorn, and this is going to be a free switch. No, I don't actually go for the Volt Switch, I go for another Foul Play. I should have gone for the Volt Switch definitely there. The only thing I did there was weaken my Rotom for no reason. But yeah, Volt Switch here on the Ferrothorn. I can basically bring in my Heatran for free, as he's actually going to predict me to Volt Switch out, expect me not to pack the HP Fire, and he's going to go for the Leech Seed, I believe, here, which is a really good play on his part. But I do have the leftovers on my Heatran. No, I actually don't. I have Air Balloon, so I don't have anything to cancel out this damage. And he's going to reveal next turn that he actually has the Protect. So that's going to be really annoying for my team to take on, because Leech Seed Protect means my Heatran just took 37.5% on the rocks in 2 turns, but I actually make a pretty nice play here, either predicting the Protect or the Switch Out, because there's no reason to stay in if you're not protecting. I go for the Stealth Rocks and basically get him up for free, so that's really good for me, and he's just going to be leeching me with the Leech Seed, and now I'm going to go for the Lava Plume. Reason being, I've been making aggressive plays all game, and I expect him to kind of predict me to overpredict this turn, and Lava Plume would knock this out if it was not Aqua Berry, so I do pop the Aqua Berry there, and it does actually not a lot of damage, revealing he is heavily specially defensive, and that makes sense for my Gengar. I mean, what else does he have for it? But yeah, so that's kind of unfortunate for me. I definitely would have preferred to knock this thing out. However, I can use this thing as setup fodder for my Salamence later in the game, so that's pretty good. Here I go for the Dark Pulse because he's either protecting or switching out. There's no other play, so Dark Pulse was completely safe there. And now here, he's most likely switching out on the Lava Plume, but I don't really have the best reason not to go for Lava Plume, since I did go for Dark Pulse last time. He doesn't want to switch in his Starmie, so I'm just going to go for the Lava Plume here, catching the Crobat on the switch in. No, actually go for the Dark Pulse again. I should have gone for Lava Plume once again, but hindsight is 20/20. And I do get a crit, which does exactly the same damage as Lava Plume would have done. So, I mean, it's basically like a quick Lava Plume there, although it is very unfortunate for him. Hack's not really going his way, as he does reveal the Black Sludge, so he is a bulky Crobat here. Now, he has 2 plays basically. He can knock me out with a Brave Bird, which at this range will definitely kill me, or he can go for a Roost. Now, predicting the Roost, I'm going to go for the Earth Power, because if he kills me, I don't get the attack off anyways, and if he Roosts, I get off a huge hit on him. So he does go for the Roost, and I get that prediction correct, which is really nice for me. as I get to keep this Crobat really low, and if he is specially defensive, it's not able to switch into my Gengar at all. So I get it basically in range of rocks at this point, although with Leech Seed he's out of range, but I get him really low, which means my Scarf Gengar can come in and basically weaken his Ferrothorn, as that is his only play when I send in the Gengar. And once I weaken the Ferrothorn enough, I can basically just sweep with Gengar, because he doesn't have anything to outspeed barring a Scarf Starmie, which, again, I think is the most likely set versus me. It checks Salamence and it checks Gengar, both incredibly well. But yeah, he does switch out into his Ferrothorn, and I get to see the damage with the Stealth Rocks plus Shadow Ball. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough to 2-hit KO because Ferrothorn is fat, but he is in range where 2 Shadow Balls the next time he comes in will kill him. So I'm going to go into my Rotom because he doesn't have leftovers, and his only way of recovering is by going for a Leech Seed, so I do want to keep this low. But he makes a really good play and doubles out into, what is it, the Starmie. So that's a really good play for him, and here I'm basically forced to sack a Pokemon. Nothing really switches into this thing comfortably besides my Tapu Fini, and I don't want to take any hits with that unnecessarily because Rocks plus Psychic, plus if he has Thunderbolt, I'm pretty sure that does knock me out. As he reveals he's Life Orb, that is very important to know, because what it means, well, I'll pause it at a less awkward place, but if he's Life Orb, which he is, that means he's not Choice Scarf, which means he has no counterplay to a +1 Salamence. So right now I'm like, oh, let me find an opportunity to set up with my Salamence real quick, because once I do that, he literally loses, unless he makes godly plays and like all that. But yeah, that's basically going to be my win condition right now. But I am going to go into my Gengar because it's very likely he's packing Ice Beam, and I can't set up on the Starmie with my Ments, obviously. But Gengar is basically going to get a kill here with the Shadow Ball, as I believe he sacks off the Crobat here, as that is his play. He knows I'm Scarf at this point, definitely, so yeah, he has no reason to sack his Starmie, as it's one of the only offensive threats to my team left. And yeah, he loses his Crobat there, and he should bring in his Ferrothorn. Yes, he does, which is nice for him, as he can eat a Shadow Ball at this range, and I'm kind of forced to switch out. He can go for the Leech Seed here and just get back up a lot of health because I lost my Rotom Mow. I can't prevent him from Leech Seeding, unfortunately. I'm going to go into my Tapu Fini because at this point, all I want to do is defog, get up the Reflect, and get into my Salamence to start setting up on this Ferrothorn. Because, again, as I said, once I get +1, he loses. Simple as that. So I am going to try to go for the win here with my Salamence, getting rid of the Rocks on both sides, but Rocks on my side are way worse than Rocks on his side. The only way that he can really beat my Salamence is with Leech Seed into Gyro Ball, into a bunch of things, and stalling around my Ments, but in that scenario, he will take a lot of damage on his whole team, putting it all in range of Scarf Gengar. So I'm pretty much have the game in the bag. I'm just trying to increase the differential as much as possible. Now here he's just going to spam Leech Seed because I know if I go into Ments and Dragon Dance I win, and he also knows that, so he's trying to Leech Seed just to catch that on the switch. But yeah, I go for the defog here, getting rid of Rocks. Alternatively, he could have spammed Stealth Rocks here to make sure my Ments comes in at 75%, but he is just going to go for Leech Seed, as he knows if I get in Ments without a Leech Seed on it, he literally loses right then and there. He has no counterplay. So here, I'm going to go into my Ments because if he wants to get up his Rocks again, then I get my Ments in for free and I win. And if he does go for the Leech Seed again, which should be his play, I still get to heavily damage his entire team with the Ments, putting everything in range of Scarf Gengar. So yeah, he doesn't really have too much of a play here besides Leech Seed, so that is what he does. Now, I have the Reflect of Gyro Ball is going to be doing nothing to me. Well, not exactly nothing. It's still going to be doing about 32%, I believe, is like the min roll. But I do go for the Dragon Dance. Here I kind of wish I had a little bit of bulk, but I did want the max speed to try to at least speed tie with a max speed Charizard, because I thought that set was pretty good versus me. But yeah, he goes for the Gyro Ball. Now after Leech Seed, I'm at about 50%, a little bit lower, 45. but I am packing the the Fire Fang, which at this range does knock him out. I know he's going to protect here to get the Leech Seed. However, I have no reason to make the play of double Dragon Dancing. I'm just going to go straight for the Fire Fang. From his investment that he revealed on the Lava Plume damage and the Shadow Ball damage, I know he's specially defensive, so Fire Fang will basically guaranteed knock this thing out. My Reflect wears off, but that's not too big of a deal, as I can just knock out the Ferrothorn in one hit. Now here is a little bit of a mistake on my part. Not really in the plays that I made, but in actually getting my team ready for Wi-Fi. So what I did is, and this is completely my fault, Juan even reminded me to do this, but I forgot to put Flyinium Z onto my Salamence. Now it didn't really matter too much, but Supersonic Sky Strike was also a guaranteed knockout, and then I would not take the Iron Barb's damage, putting me out of range of his Breloom's Mach Punch because he is not Life Orb. But yeah, so now I am 100% in range of an Adamant Mach Punch from Breloom. So here, I'm going to make a pretty ballsy play here, and this is a play that Kyle really criticized after the game. I'm actually going to go hard into my Gengar to preserve a differential point. Now, we know he's sub Breloom, but if he does go for the sub, worst case scenario, he subs on my switch. Gengar still lives any hit aside from a Z rock move of some sort, or like 5 hits on Bullet Seed. That's basically the only way that he knocks out my Gengar. And while he could be that set, I don't see it as too likely, and even if that does happen, I still have a huge shot at getting the 3-0 that I was basically guaranteed here anyways, because not only would he have to be that specific set and make that specific play, and here I definitely feel like his play 100% is Mach Punch. Not only that, but he would have to be max speed on his Starmie, and he would have to win the speed tie versus my Sneasel. So all of that had to happen for me to not get the 4-0 here, and I thought it was just completely not likely that that would ever happen. So I'm going to go hard into my Gengar on the Mach Punch, as I do get that play correct, and I'm able to 4-0 instead of 3-0, and Shadow Ball just cleans up at this point. It does like 75% minimum to Breloom, and it just knocks out the Starmie, obviously. So that is going to be the win for the Oakland Roseraiders up against the Harlem Gloomtrotters. And yeah, it feels pretty good knocking down the #1 guy in the league on my second week here. So yeah, definitely a good game to Kyle. The hacks was pretty unfortunate. He did reveal after the game that he was trying to Quiver Dance pass into Starmie, and then he would just kind of OHKO everything on my team, and that definitely would have been a huge threat. However, he would have to hit Hydro Pump on the Starmie and the Heatran. He would have to take a hit from my Tapu Fini and take the Life Orb hit, so I wouldn't straight up lose. And then without Starmie, he loses one of his main offensive threats versus the rest of my team, so I would still have a good amount of Pokemon left over, but it would have been a completely different game. Hard to say what exactly would happen, but Salamence would still be the huge threat that it was this game. So I don't know. It definitely mattered a lot. The special defense drop on turn 1 allowed me to 2-hit KO the Venomoth, but I don't think it was exactly game over as he said, because Finny did 100% live a hit, fire off a Moonblast. I could get a potential special defense drop or a crit, and then his Life Orb damage plus my Sneasel's Ice Shard, which actually didn't even hit the field, that would do another 20% because I am Life Orb max attack. And then he'd have to use up a lot of Life Orb hits, and generally I would be able to beat it. It's just my team would be severely weakened and all that stuff. I think I still had a shot, but it would definitely be in his favor if that were to happen. But yeah, that's going to be all for the game. I'm your host, King L5, signing out. Catch you guys next week with the TBU match against, I don't even know who I'm playing. I actually looked at the doc and it was one of the replacement coaches, but they didn't fill in on the schedule, so we'll see who I play. and definitely see you guys in that video next week.